I'm here with Fintan to talk about a little bit about scenario generations. Fintan has been playtesting with us. So what we're going to be talking about is, again, scenario generation. Now, the first step of generating a scenario is deciding the play mode. What do we mean by this? The play mode is whether you decide with your opponent whether you're doing a cooperative game or a competitive game. For a cooperative game, both players are mainly interested in generating a story and finding out what happens and are happy to be a little bit forgiving and looser on rules. If you want a competitive game, you both players know to expect a head-on battle of wits, no holds barred, test of generalship, rules as written. First step we find to an enjoyable game is knowing what to expect and which one both people are interested in. I was thinking of a light cooperative game today, Fintan. What were you thinking?
I think that sounds good to me.
The first step in generating the scenario itself is rolling the objective. So we will be rolling on a D3 to find out how the objective is situated. This could be one objective in the middle, multiple objectives spread out. We'll consult the table. I roll my dice and I will get a result of 1, which means that the objective is positioned. It means that I will have to set up a board with the objective in the center. One central objective that everybody goes head to head on. That objective in the center also means that the one objective is a hard interaction. The next step is setting up the board. So I'll take a moment to set up a board for us to play. You will have to be careful, however, because if you set up the board, your opponent then gets to choose the deployment type. Here you see I have set up the board. Now, your opponent gets to choose the deployment zone first. So if you set it up weirdly, you might end up being the one advancing into gun lines instead of the one nicely positioned behind cover surveying a vast open field. Now you see, I have set up the board and I think I've done a fairly good job at making an even, easy board to use. Now we have to roll to see what the deployment type is. We'll roll a dice and consult the chart. 1. That is a position deployment. This means that one player will deploy within 4 inches of the central objective, the defender specifically, and they will be preventing the attacker from trying to achieve the objective, i.e. make a successful interaction with the objective. Once a successful interaction is made with the objective, then the game is over. And the person who has made the interaction has achieved the objective and will receive the victory points for that. Important. In a normal game of Force of Virtue, you can achieve 2 victory points. 1 victory point for achieving the objective, and 1 victory point for finishing the game with more than 50% of your force still alive. Any troops that fled because of burnt virtue also count as alive. Now I've set up the board. Now I must also declare to Fintan, because since I set up, Fintan gets to choose what the different terrain types are, what is difficult terrain, what is impassable terrain. Now, so Fintan can make an informed choice. I will say the doors are passable as normal. These walls are impassable. Crossing these embankments with the trees counts as difficult, and the barrels count as cover. Crossing the cart counts as difficult terrain. Knowing that, Fintan will choose whether he wants to be the attacker or the defender in this scenario.
In this scenario, I think I'm going to pick to be the attacker.
Now that's interesting. So I will deploy within 4 inches of the objective and try and prevent Fintan from making a hard interaction with the objective. Now at this point, we try and craft a narrative. Now either I've got one in my head that works well, All interaction types are the same, so it doesn't really matter what I choose. However, we now know what the deployment is and stuff. We could also consult our chart. However, other than consult the chart in the rulebook, I think I already have a good idea. We have a dead body. We have my guys around it. We could either say that I've just murdered this person, and Fintan is trying to retrieve evidence that it was my men who murdered him and take it to the Duke or the Pope and get my guys in trouble. Or we could say that my men were hired to protect this poor unlucky individual, and one of Fintan's men managed to snipe him from one of these buildings, and you are now trying to extract a message or some kind of element from the body. Maybe you're trying to finish him off.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say?
I think that he could still be alive, and I've been trying to kill him. He was my target. I've been paid to kill him.
So he's wounded, the job is somewhat botched, and you want to make sure it's done, cut off his head and bring it to your employer.
Yes.
Excellent. So now that we have set up, decided deployment, we're now ready to decide also what cards we're going to take. But before we decide what cards we're going to take, we have to decide what hand size we're going to play this game to. We're currently playing a narrative campaign, all of us. Each of us have warbands. I currently have a warband size of 18 cards with my Swiss. Fintan currently has been playing his a little longer and has 23. In the case of a difference in warband size, the player with the smaller warband gets to decide what hand size we're playing to. Let's make it a 14 card game. Is that okay by you?
That sounds fun to me.
I could also choose a hand size slightly higher than I have and choose up to 3 additional scenario cards from the scenario deck in order to kind of pad it out and bring it up to a higher number if Fintan wanted to play a larger game. I can choose from my cards in my warband, I can choose my hand, and if I wanted to switch out cards that are in my warband for cards in the scenario deck, I could do that too. Now we would go through and we would pick our cards for this game. Once we pick the cards, we would deploy the troops. Now, before we do our deployments, or the pre-deployment shenanigans that come from our cards, we're going to do what is called a scenario deck draft. We will draw 6 cards. We have an ambush card. We have another ambush card. We have barricades. We have an assassin. And we have more barricades. And as our final card, we have a banker. The attacker, since he chooses the timing of the attack, gets and has a slight disadvantage in he's trying to achieve something and I just have to stop him. The attacker always gets first pick of the draft.
Take these cards and take my pick of them.
So
I think it would make sense narratively for me to take this assassin.
that makes a lot of sense. And as it's a cooperative game, that also helps the narrative. I think it makes sense that I've got barricades. Your pick again?
Yes, I will take a look through here. I think perhaps I'm going to take this ambush card, as my men are already positioned inside the building nearby.
Maybe that's where the sniper came. I will take the second barricades.
I will take the second ambush.
And I will take the banker. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with him, but I'll figure it out. Now we would both play any cards marked pre-deployment and start our deployment proper. The defender starts to deploy first, and then the attacker deploys Afterwards, the attacker then gets first turn. So for each barricade card, I would get to place 9 inches of barricade. For now, we're not going to play through a full game. There's more than enough games on our channel that you can see us play through. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully that's enough for you to get started with your own game of Force of Virtue.